just unmute. Russo will take it over.
It's my pleasure this evening to welcome Ruby.
Mics are back on.
From Ywca. As you know, we have been working for the last year and a half to bring a pre-K counts program to the Eastern York School District. On August 25th, I was informed by Ruby that the funding and for the expansion grant to offer pre-K counts has been approved. And since that time, I have been planning with Ruby to begin November 1st at its earliest to welcome 40 pre-K students ages 3 to 5 at Canadockley to begin with our pre-K program for 3 to 5-year-olds. So with that, we have our MOU for you to review. We've worked with Teresa and Ruby and Roxanne, who is their CFO of the Ywca, to make sure the MOU is in line and it has been reviewed, and I believe we're good to go with that. So Ruby, I'll give you the floor to give us a presentation.
I think you got it covered, Dr. Mancuso. I think you said all the important parts. Thank you for having me this evening. I just want to talk to you about a very exciting opportunity that we have, which then in turn you also have. Ywca York's Learning Center at Canadockley Elementary School. Our proposal is, you can progress this slide, please, thank you. Our proposal is to have, first of all, we're the Ywca of York, and our mission is to eliminate racism, empower women, stand up for social justice, help families, and strengthen communities. When we first reached out to Dr. Mancuso a year and a half or so ago, our thought was that there's a lot of rural poverty in your district. We want to be able to offer our pre-K counts programming that we offer in downtown York to also members of the suburbs who are experiencing trouble with finances. So the wonderful thing about pre-K counts program is that it's 300% above poverty level and lower, which means a family of 4 earning $75,000 a year can qualify for free pre-K under this Pennsylvania State pre-K counts program, which makes affordable, high-quality child care programming much more accessible to more families throughout York County. So our hope is to bring 40 spots to Canadockley Elementary School and fill them with families that either chose to stay at home with their children or work for lower wages or work part-time jobs so that their kids can also get pre-kindergarten aged education, getting them more ready for kindergarten socially and emotionally. You can progress, thank you. So Ywca York Learning Centers, we currently have 2 pre-K programs in both York Suburban, Valley View Elementary, and Yorkshire Elementary. We have 9 pre-K counts classrooms at our downtown location, and we are starting 2 at Lincoln Charter School in York City. We have had pre-K counts programming since 2007, which was the pilot year of the free state-funded program. And this is our 15th year offering Pennsylvania pre-K counts programming to York County families. So this isn't new work for us, but we are true to this work. And all of our members of our administrative staff are incredibly expertise at doing this work. So we've already offered a position for a school-based pre-K counts director. And she has accepted, and I'm hoping to get her paperwork done so that we can announce who that is and get you a bio. We also already have 1 lead teacher who is actually a Canadockley graduate. Caitlin Grimm will be teaching one of the classrooms at the Canadockley Elementary School, and she has been a pre-K counts teacher in our program for 9 years and chose to leave the city to go to Canadockley if we approve this MOU. So the child care programs at the Ywca consist of our Early Learning Center, which is infant through 3-year-olds, and then we have our pre-K counts programming and pre-K programming. We also offer our wonderful camp program and family education with the step parent education program and mindful fathering, which is a series that we will also offer to families in the Eastern School District as well. We have youth programs, victim services programs, of course, racial justice, aquatics, yoga, and community development programs. All will be resourced for members of your community. can progress. I just put some little pictures in for people's entertainment. Thanks. So we have been awarded 40 total spots to serve children ages 3 to 5 years old in this school district. So what we do in our philosophy is mixed age grouping with 3 to 5-year-olds in the same classrooms. The reason we do this is so that when kids leave to go to kindergarten, they have a whole group of kids that are ready to be the next age group leaders. They already know the classroom expectations, they're already socially and emotionally developed, and they're ready to teach the new group of 3-year-olds through a scaffolding method what it's like to be a pre-K kid. So this philosophy has worked for us for 15 years in our downtown program, and we hope that it works just as well here in Canada in Eastern schools. Our pre-K counts hours, like I said, are 2:45 or 8:45 to 2:15 Monday through Friday, and it is a school year program, so it will run 42 weeks. We will offer wraparound care for half of those children, so half of our spots can go to families that work full-time jobs as long as they meet the qualifications for Pennsylvania pre-K counts. We will honor our commitment to the National Association for Education of Young Children accreditation, and will reach, after 2 years of operation, we will achieve NACE accreditation here, as well as a Star 4A rating, and Pennsylvania Keystone Stars will also achieve our Pennsylvania Private Academic Nursery School licensure here at the Canada School.
Ruby, quick comment on that. For the Keystone Stars, that's 5 stars, right? It's only 4, so you're at the highest rating
We
for
are
the
at the
program.
highest rating in our downtown location and 2 of our off-site locations. Our York suburban site and this site in Lincoln Charter have to be in operation for 1 full year to achieve higher than a Star 2. So we'll get Star 2 the first year that we're here, and then we'll easily move into a Star 3 or 4.
Thank you.
So a typical day in our program will be welcoming. We have a very mindful environment, so we do calming activities about once every hour. So it doesn't matter how crazy and wild the kids are, we bring them back with some deep breathing, some stretching, some movement activities every hour on the hour. We have center-based play and project discovery, including science, math, technology, arts, music, movement, dramatics, language arts. They have lunch, they go outside, they have some specials, which includes things like soccer, gymnastics, whatever the district wants to offer. We do cooking, we have robotics programming, then afternoon snack, and then dismissal time. And of course, our extended day program will then include some structured free play and some activities for the kids that come earlier in the morning and stay later in the day. We align our programming with the early learning standards that Pennsylvania has developed for high-quality programs. We use creative curriculum, we use anti-bias education, and we do project-based learning, which means our hands are constantly moving. We know that pre-K kids learn a little bit differently than 4th graders. So our children are constantly engaged with materials and activities so that they are interacting and learning through tactile experiences. We have a lot of social emotional tools. We use positive behavior intervention and supports. We use conscious discipline, and we use something called PATS curriculum, which is puppets that show children how to use their social emotional skills in appropriate ways. We have supports for schools transition. We work very closely with the district in terms of transitioning children from our 4-year-old pre-K to the district's kindergarten rooms. And hopefully that includes maybe shared PD, working directly with the teachers, and looking forward to sharing our professional portfolios on each child with the concurrent teacher as they transition. And of course, the self-study for our national accreditation is very in-depth, and it keeps us on our toes. So as we go through that process, we'll see the increase in quality on a daily basis.
How are you? Pretty good. How are you doing?
So like I said earlier, the program supplements, or we call them specials, and these include things like cooking, robotics, yoga, dance, soccer shots, gymnastics. We enhance our literacy through the 100-Book Challenge, and we are all about community and connection, so we'll be inviting members of the community both in and doing walking trips and special trips to visit members of the community as much as we can. So our collaboration with the district, if you want to progress. We will have frequent communication through class apps. We're going to be using class communication applications with our parents. We'll also be connecting with the school through email, quarterly newsletters from the Ywca work leadership, family advisory committee opportunities for members of the community. We have free family education sessions using STEP and Mindful Fathering, both are evidence-based parenting programs. We have frequent family cultural connection activities throughout the year, including like a cultural dinner. We have Pie Fest around Thanksgiving time. There's some things that we invite the district to participate in. We also have a parent cafe and family workshops that we offer throughout the year on topics that are important to families. Most of those are Zoom right now, but we hope to be back face-to-face by the end of next year. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
Hey, that sounds really good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh. Real quick.
Yes.
Did you say, correct me if I'm wrong, I might have missed it, did you say there's 40 kids under the age of 5?
It's 3 to 5 year olds.
3 to 5 years old?
40 of them.
How many?
40.
Is it in one room?
2 classrooms.
Oh, I was going to say, because your teacher's going to need Kevlar.
Yeah, our teachers are highly trained to deal. It's a 1 to 10 ratio. We'll have teachers' assistants, and each classroom will have a floater or an extra assistant, especially because we'll be in the, I believe in the trailers, correct, Dr. Mancuso?
Yeah, in the modular classroom.
Yes, the modular classrooms that we will then take the kids to the building for the bathroom. So we'll need extra staff for that.
Very good, very good. And if you identify anything like an emotional learning disability or something that may be something that's identified, you certainly go back to the parents, and then you'll be able to work with the kindergarten and the district to make sure that we can react when
Absolutely.
they've got, okay, right.
Yeah, we have a very
Great.
good relationship with the LIU locally, and they connect with us for all kinds of specialized services under the age of 5.
Okay. And lastly, how are you paid through this program? I didn't catch that. Maybe it's in here, I was looking over the MOU, but how do you get paid?
It's the Pennsylvania Department of Ed. They pay us per child, and they pay us an amount that covers the entire school year. And that funding goes towards paying the teachers, paying for the teachers' PD, paying for the program equipment, supplies, everything that comes along with wonderful high-quality programming, all the specials, etc. And that comes from the Department of Ed and the Office of Child Development and Early Learning.
And I was reading over the MOU. It looks like our responsibility is pretty minimal, just throwing in the space, make sure it's safe and secure, and some other things about furniture movement. Pretty standard stuff. We just want you here, and you work. That's the top thought on all this program. This is a really good program.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you very much. Glad to see it gone.
Any other questions for Ruby?
Yes, I have a question for me. I'd be interested if there's any parent out here that has a child in the program that would wish to speak for or against them and give their impressions.
Oh, well there, how about that? So my youngest daughter, or actually both of my daughters, aren't in the pre-K counts program specifically, but they're in a facility that is a pre-K counts program. So they go through the same curriculum and day that was explained, and I think it's phenomenal. My daughter's now in 1st grade, and the facility she was at for what they call pre-K1, so from 3 to 5, was a pre-K counts program, and I think it really helped her get ready for school from an educational perspective, but it also brought to light some learning challenges that she had. So going into kindergarten, we as parents were kind of well equipped with things to work with the kindergarten teacher with. So I highly recommend it, and I'm glad to see that it's coming to Eastern.
Thank you.
I didn't even know that was going to happen, so that's great.
Thank you. I have another question. I may have missed it, but how do these children or students get to school? Do we transport them?
That's a great question. And we've actually gone around about it a couple times. What we're going to try the first year is to see if the parents can drop off and pick up on their own. If we find that there's a need for transportation, we can look at providing it in year 2.
And you pay for that as well?
Yeah, that will come out of the grant.
Yeah, I mean, you can see as part of that MOU, the district does give paid backs and fees for just having the program. It's like 2% per child of the cost. And then we also will be providing the breakfast and the lunch, and will be paid for those services as well.
The hours for the program, do they run with the regular school hours, or are they separate?
The hours for the pre-K counts program will
Yes.
be 45 to 2:15, Monday through Friday. Our program that we're offering before and after care for that pre-K program for families that work, that need additional time, we're just going to operate from 6:30 in the morning till 6 p.m.
Mr. Shelley, that time frame's kind of like what EYARC does currently at our 3 elementary schools now. There are no other questions. Ruby, thank you very much for coming this evening. We are super excited to bring this program to Eastern and get started. So once again, thank you.
Very much. Let me know if you need anything further. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. All right, the second item on the agenda for tonight is discussion, it looks like, on the air conditioning system potential at Canadoc and Rice Creek. Ms. Weaver, is that your ball? Or-
Yeah, it'll be.
Oh, Mr. Hoover, are you hiding? There we go.
It'll be a combination, like normal, so, I think I'm so far away from the mic. So as the board's well aware, we've been discussing air conditioning at Canadoc and Rice Creek for many years, and, is this something we want to do with potential new building? The board members that were actually on the building tour, we did talk about this in pretty in-depth at that time, and so we did ask Mr. Kaufman from Moore Engineering to come tonight just to talk about, maybe some of the designs. So at that point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hoover and maybe what our next steps are in the process.
Okay, so thank you. So we did reach out to Ken Kaufman with Moore Engineering and got a proposal to look at the 2 different options we had discussed at the tours. The first option was to look at just installing like a packaged residential style window unit in each classroom. That would entitle running electricity to each classroom to handle the units and purchasing the units and installing them. The second option was actually to look at putting mini-split air conditioning systems in the classrooms, which would entitle putting the heat pumps outside and running the air handling unit on the inside of the building. So we could reach out and got that proposal from Mr. Kaufman to do that engineering, and I think a copy of that was included in the packet. Any questions regarding that items and how you want to proceed?
Between window unit versus the mini split, do we see a benefit in ventilation? Because those buildings today don't have mechanical ventilation.
So your current ventilation is actually fed through the unit ventilators that are there currently. So that would be maintained with both these options. These do not provide any additional ventilation.
Hey Todd, has anybody put out any hand grenade ideas of dollar amounts on where this might be? I mean, we won't hold you to it, but just a good idea.
We didn't go, because it's not figuring out what package we want to look at. If you remember back in 2017, we did get a proposal to run electrical services in each building. And that came in at about $266,000 just to run the electric panels and the outlets in each of the classrooms. That did not include the cost of the window. We were looking at window units at that point. We were looking at 24,000 BTU, 230-volt window units to handle the load for the classrooms. Back then, the cost of the window unit was $600. We would need 56 window units for both the buildings. So whatever that would, I didn't do all the math on that. So then you'd have the cost for installing the window units in the windows. Or the big thing we were looking at, if you look at the buildings, we really don't have a window that would fit a window unit. So you're looking at modifying either the window pane or making a penetration through a wall to put the window unit in. So you would have that cost of 2017, with the electrical costs would not stop, and we were wanting to cover it.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rich.
No, I should ask this in
You're
small
probably going
circles.
around going, so.
No, I should ask this in small circles. I'm not an HVAC guy, but, you know, I occasionally go into offices where they have units that are internal for air conditioning. They hang at the top of the wall there, and they're internal, so they're just wired into the electrical panel. But what you're talking about, if I heard you right, was either a window unit or a central location.
Well, what we're talking about is the kind of the thing you're seeing in the office. You see that unit on the wall?
Right.
That's a split system. So that's the part of it. The other part's outside somewhere or under.
Oh, okay, so there's a
That's
heat
what
exchange
you-
unit outside that runs,
And you run your lines inside of that unit.
yeah, okay. And I hate to say, wouldn't that be easier than just trying to modify the windows like it would if you go on all kind of, I don't want to design anything. I'm not an engineer for this, none of that, so I'll trust what you guys bring for us to take a look at and all that jazz. But at the top thought, if I remember right, it was in excess of $1 million turnkey.
The thing with the split unit, you could run maybe one heat pump and run a couple classrooms off of it, so you only run one heat pump, so you have a little bit of savings there. But fortunately, they are a little more expensive though than with a window, say, a window unit.
The other thing, if somebody can educate me on this, if you air condition those classrooms, you have to air condition the others. Did there some kind of quality thing going on?
This would air condition all classrooms.
Okay.
No hallways,
No hallways.
nothing but classrooms.
It's classrooms.
No offices?
Offices are already air conditioned.
Well, oh, they're already offices.
But does not include like the cafeteria or the multi-purpose rooms.
You say no cafeteria?
We did not, no, this is just classrooms, that's all we were looking at, is classrooms. Now you're getting into bigger units because of those areas and spaces. So it doesn't include that. Keep in mind that middle school hallways are air conditioned. So the classrooms would be air conditioned, your doors are closed.
Just asking. What kind of a warranty would this equipment hold?
On the split system heat pumps, the second option there would be a 5-year warranty on the compressors. On your other units, probably comes with a standard 1-year warranty.
Is that a standard, 5 years? I put a heat pump system in my house many years ago, and it was a 10-year warranty on it. Did that fall, or is that something?
No, so there are actually, in the air conditioning market, there's 2 different warranties, and one is for residential applications, that's typically 10. When you apply it to a commercial project, they only give you a 5-year warranty. Ironically, it's the same unit, but it's a different warranty.
So we're looking at $50K just for the engineering before we did any electrical or anything.
Actually, probably 60, Mark, because I would assume that we're probably looking at the mini split option. So we're looking at 60,000 in engineering. For us to be told that we're going to have to spend $1 million, which in 2017 we already said we can't do.
Just my opinion on this operationally, I struggle to support anything as long as we still have the option of building a new building. You know, why put this kind of money into those buildings if we're still looking at the new building? It's
Right.
Just my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just,
Mr. Reese?
This doesn't include the gyms or the cafeteria or anything.
Yeah, you just said that.
Maybe I didn't make my question the right way, but if I remember a long time ago when we had built on our improved Wrightsville, somebody came in and said if we were to do something in Crites Creek or Hvac, such as air conditioning, you can't have add air conditioning to the one school and not have it in the other school because it was and they would call it a disadvantage. Am I wrong or right on that?
Yes.
Quality and education, yeah, we do all we got to do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
yeah, and understand this is definitely a biddable project, so we would need the engineering services to not only design it, but also to do all the bid documents.
Okay. Is this on the agenda for tonight, Mrs. Weaver?
No, this isn't one for tonight. We just wanted to bring it to you tonight, so you can have some time, and then we can discuss it some more in October, and that's when we would want the board to either, decide if they want to move forward with approval for the engineering services or stay how we are.
Okay. Yeah, look, why don't we plan on having this on the operations agenda for next month also? No.
No?
No.
Why?
Mr. Chairman,
Our workshop committee meetings don't have any room for public comment. You can talk about it when we get to the regular board meeting.
Okay, because the last operations meeting, I was at, I did call, I was able.
Yeah, we made an exception, but if we did that, we'd never get through our what we need to do in these meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, in the regular board meeting, there's always an opportunity for the public to comment.
One more thing, in timeline, so next month we decide to do something. What do you feel would be the timeline to completion? Right, so you have this project to do, that's going to take some time, there's this, water parts, insulation.
Mr. Hoover, like you said, in 17, the board approved to go out and get some prices for electrical work on. Why didn't that go any further?
I don't remember. I think we're back at that point because we're looking at building a new building. And the board did not want to proceed any further because of you remember at that time building a new building. And I mean, I have to go back and look at the minutes. You remember Mrs. Weaver? Was it because we were at this table because they didn't want to proceed at that point?
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever tabled. We just never did. And, all I can say is, how do we make out?
But
Yeah,
Yeah, so to answer your question, I would guess it's probably a 2 or 3 month design process, maybe a month to bid it, and then after that would be construction. So the biggest challenge at this point would be obtaining equipment, which is a challenge in the HVAC world right now, and lead time. So the hope would be that it would be something we could do next summer, but it really is going to depend on whether or not we can get the equipment.
Are there any other questions on this item? Thank you, Mr. All right. Next item on the agenda has to do with Wrightsville Elementary, the energy recovery handler. I assume, Mr. Hoover, this is your ball also.
yeah, it's called an energy recovery wheel. It's actually in the air handler. There's 3 air handlers at Wrightsville. Each one of them has an energy recovery wheel. Basically, it's a big wheel that takes heat from the exhaust side, transfers it to the air being pulled in from outside, to temper it a little bit so you're not spending as much energy to either cool or heat that air coming into the building. So each of these has a heat wheel. Well, this heat wheel actually failed, so it actually, a part of it came out of the wheel and it jammed up in the cassette. And it damaged the rim of the wheel and 3 of the desiccants that make up the wheel itself. It's in, I think, 7 segments. It's like a pie, and 3 of those segments got damaged. So we do have insurance. We have insurance that covers equipment failure. The biggest problem we had with this is finding anybody that would work on it. If you would see where the unit's located, it's inside the building, so it's not like you can just lift this cassette out and put a new one in. You pretty much have to rebuild the wheel inside the unit. So we had a hard time trying to find companies that would even give us the price to do the rebuild. We were able to get a cost estimate to repair it. It came in at $21,755 to repair the wheel. And then the insurance would cover a portion of that cost.
It's for Wrightsville?
What's that?
Yeah, it's for Wrightsville.
It's for Wrightsville. It's actually the air handler that provides air to, and again, the unit works without it. It's just an energy recovery wheel. It doesn't affect the operation. Air is still being pulled in. Everything's working. This just helps save energy. That's all we're just not getting the energy benefit.
Is there a measurable impact that you can see from the wheel not working currently? In other words,
It's not going back and looking at it. looking at the energy cost, because it just happens, we went through a partial of the heating season, now we're in the cooling season, we have to do a comparison between the two.
Right. So is it worth $22,000?
I mean, insurance going to cover, we had what, an estimate of $17,500, so the district will out of pocket $4,500. I mean, it is, I think, worth making repairs. Getting the system back in operation, it should be.
Is this something that should be on a preventative maintenance gate?
It is. We can only expect this is one of those things that just
Had the
didn't
little
fail. I mean, it was installed in 2003, so we got how many years? 18 years without failure, but it couldn't fail.
Why do you have option 1 for 34? What would be the advantage to go with the option?
Option one is to repair the wheel. Option 2 was to replace the wheel. We didn't feel we needed to replace the whole wheel.
Yeah, the insurance is covering us to repair it at $17,000. We're actually still working through that process because we're hopeful that they might increase that to $19,500. So they are willing to cover $17,000 to repair it. So we thought repairing it was, the best option for the district at this point versus replacing it. Because of what's going on with the supply chain, that's why we're going back to them and asking them to hopefully cover the additional $2,500.
Mr. Hoover, looking at this document, one of the comments in here on option 1 for the 34, they make a statement about a 5-year warranty, but they make no warranty statements about repairing the wheel. Are they not warranting their work?
I'll have to go back. I'll double check on that. Typically, it's a 1-year warranty of parts and labor, but I'll go back and confirm that.
And given the fact that we have insurance on that, if it failed in a year, I'm assuming our insurance would cover that again?
It doesn't fail in a year, but equipment failure, you would think, but they might have to, insurance will probably going to question why it failed in a year.
Okay. Okay.
But we'll double check that. I mean, it is on the board for approval, but we'll double check that before we proceed in how this meter wants to work out. We've done that before. I'll go back to you before tomorrow and confirm that.
Okay. Is this on tonight's agenda, Mr. Weir?
This is on tonight's agenda for approval.
I'm
not quite sure then what we specifically voting on this evening.
We were asking you to approve it to repair it at the total cost of $21,755. If you're not comfortable doing that tonight, we can always do it in October. Or we could approve it pending the final research on the warranty.
Mr. Hoover, I believe there were some questions that weren't answered about this. Would it be appropriate to get those answers and bring it back?
I mean, we're just sort of looking at warranty. I don't think, but if you want, we can. I mean, if we wiped October, we can. I mean, it's not. This could actually be done anytime during the school year.
Well, we can qualify the motion in the meeting that we can approve it based on it. There'll be a 1-year warranty on work. If there isn't, then Mr. Hoover will have to come back to us. Any other questions for Mr. Hoover on this? Okay, next item on the agenda is ductwork inspection reports. I get this feeling that this is probably you again, Mr.
Yeah. So earlier in the year, this year the board approved to do inspections of the HVAC supplied ductwork at Wrightsville Elementary and East New York High School. The reason we only did those 2 buildings is, if you remember, we did a renovation of the middle school, and part of that renovation, they cleaned the ductwork at the middle school. And since Craig Creek and Candoffy doesn't have any HVAC ductwork, there's nothing to inspect those buildings. So we did this summer an inspection of the trunk lines, main lines that run down through the building, supply the air into the classrooms. We did opened up certain inspection ports, and took videos, took pictures, and actually lifted samples of the material that they found inside the ductwork, just to determine whether or not we need to go any further into cleaning, or if the ductwork itself is still in good shape. So based at Wrightsville, Overall, the ductwork had a very light accumulation of dirt. It looked in really good shape. In air handler 2, they did notice what it looked like when they sealed the ductwork, they actually used mastic tape on the inside. And typically you don't use a mastic type tape on the inside of ductwork because it can keep the microbial growth on it. So doing the inspection, they noticed something that could possibly be microbial growth on that mastic. So the recommendation is we do clean the ductwork that comes out in air handler 2. Now remember, we have 3 air handlers at Wrightsville. 1 and 3 were, or 1 was in good shape. 2 had some growth. And number 3, which is the gym, seemed to have a little bit more dust in it, which kind of makes sense because of being a more heavily used area, more activities going in there, kids coming in and out from outside. That had a little bit more accumulation of debris and dirt in it. So the recommendation at Wrightsville is to clean the air handler, ductwork from air handler 2 and air handler 3. Then and I'm working with the company called Pure Air to develop a scope of work for that. Again, we'll have to go out for bid. It'll be a biddable project, so we'll have to get a scope of work and then submit bid or solicit for sealed bids to have that work done. At the high school, again, it's kind of the same thing. Overall, it's a light accumulation of dust. In the majority of the areas, the rooftop heat pump number 2, which actually services the gym, they noticed a larger accumulation of particles. Again, I think associates to the gym being heavier used, you get a lot more moisture from breathing and activities go on in the gym. And then also we found accumulation in the ductwork of C and D. And I think that's going to go back to when we did construction. If you remember, we were still building part of the building when we started operating part of the building. C and D were in operation in classrooms while we were still constructing this area and doing some other work in E. So that had a little bit larger buildup in there. So the recommendation from the inspections was we clean the ductwork and heat pump 1 and 2, which is the gym, and we clean the ductwork for C and D classrooms. So again, I'm working with Pure Air to develop a scope of work for all that work, and then we'll come back with a scope of work, and then we'll submit, go off with proposals to do the cleaning next summer.
Questions from Mr. Hoover? Is there anything on the agenda for tonight about that?
No, we just showed we got the reports back. We shared the reports with you. You have a copy of them with the agenda. Just wanted to give a summary of it, so there won't be anything until I get the scope of work and get some numbers in that. And again, that's actually a project recovering under ESSER funds.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Hoover.
Yeah.
Mrs. Weaver, I assume the last item on here is yours, which is the faithful transport agreement?
Yes, this is just an agreement, another firm that does van transportation for special ed students or some of our smaller populations, maybe to like our non-public facilities. And it was just an outlet to look for another service that might provide some additional van coverage with the current staffing issues that our van drivers are having. So I would just be asking the board to approve that as an additional as-needed type of agreement for transportation.
Questions from Mrs. Weaver? Okay, and that's on the agenda tonight, so we'll deal with that. We have nothing else on our agenda, therefore I will bring this meeting to a close. And Ms. Malone, I'm right on time, and you may begin the regular board.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, this time the board is going to go into an executive session to discuss a confidential legal consultation with the solicitor. Nothing will be voted on in this meeting, in this executive session. It never is. So that's what we're going into right now. 6:35. Call this meeting to order. If everybody would please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mrs. Weaver, roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Holtzinger?
Here.
Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mr. Lentz?
Here.
Mr. Malone?
Here.
Mr. Reese?
Here.
Mr. Shelley?
Here.
Mr. Shevlu?
Here.
And Mr. Zepp?
Here.
Okay, approval of the previous board minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions, comments on the previous board minutes? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report, Mr. Chevalier.
In the agenda manager, you'll find copies of the general fund statement and the student activities fund and food service statements, along with the current balances and the fund balance.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from Mr. Chevalier? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Student recognition, Dr. Mancuso.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome high school principal, Mr. Bill Rickard, here this evening to recognize our high school students of the month. Mr. Rickard.
I'm excited because we have an opportunity to recognize two students who are the epitome of what we're doing here. The first one I'd like to introduce is Ray Bolton. Let me talk about Ray a little bit. He's one of those students in high school that is really taking advantage of every opportunity he has here. Just on his GPA alone, it would be enough for him to be here with us. Let me read this off to you. 105.78 at the end of last year. 105.78. I don't think I could ever think about that when I was in high school. That's pretty awesome. On top of that, he's involved in band, a lot of different musical programs. Actually, he's involved in cross country. In fact, he just came off the course from Southwestern this evening on his way here. He's involved in track and field, science Olympiad. He has a couple of other celebrations that we can't announce this evening, but will be announced tomorrow on the 15th. He wants to go to school and study environmental science when he goes to college, but he's just not quite sure where he wants to go at this point. So that's Braden for us. So congratulations, Braden.
Mr. Rickard?
Yes.
Did Braden have any guests with him this evening?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Mom's here.
Congratulations.
Our second student of the month, Victoria Zerby. Mom and Dad are here too, so Mark and Ann, you want to stand up? You recognize them?
Congratulations, Mr. Zerby.
Just like Braden, Victoria is a slacker at the high school as well. We'll talk about her GPA, 108.76 at the end of last school year, so that's pretty awesome, pretty amazing. Again, she doesn't do much here. She's just involved in everything, including National Honor Society basketball, lacrosse, yearbook, chorus, FFA photography, and she works also at French ball. So you can tell she doesn't do much at the school or in the community. So just like Braden, I want to say congratulations and get a picture. Again, two great kids. One more round for both of them. That's it for our students of the month right now. Can I introduce our board reporter? We have a student reporter here this evening. She's going to share some information about the happenings all across the district. Her name is Jessica Rosen, a junior at the high school.
So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of all of the principals and at the middle school, the assistant principal. We reached out. I'm speaking on behalf of Isabel Bailey as well as myself, and we wanted to hear about some of the positive things that were happening at school. So at Canadockley, they were able to have an Armor Spirit Week, and they had their first outdoor assembly with the entire school, which has been the first since the start of the pandemic. At Kreitz Creek Elementary, they've already had 2 PTO meetings where they have been planning field trips and school-wide events. 5th grade students district-wide will participate in the Canoe-mobile field trip. Canoe-mobile is a floating classroom that brings students out on local waterways in 24-foot Voyager canoes to learn about science, history, geography, and culture. On-water experiences are often enriched with land-based learning activities developed and facilitated by organizations such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the National Park Service. KC is looking to welcome the York County Library System to 1st grade to get all of their 1st graders signed up with library cards. This will further support our community-wide connections to literacy. Finally, they are very pleased to see excellent participation in their band, orchestra, and chorus at the elementary level. We are eager to see all of these assemblies continue to grow and flourish. At Wrightsville Elementary, they kicked off their school year with their motto, "I choose to learn," and each student and staff member received a shirt with the motto. Students learned in the first assembly or house party that learning is not something that magically happens when we show up to school. Learn identifies or explains a choice that students can make to help with their learning. The first assembly focused on the R in learn, and it stands for raise your hand. Students were reminded that mistakes are essential to the learning process and that we must overcome this fear to truly learn every day. At the middle school, they reintroduced the Teamology Armor characters. The students are currently developing grade-level teams and school pride by selecting a mascot, team song, and student-driven positive behavior rewards. Assistant Principal Mr. Price said that they are off to a great start. And at the high school, our students of the month are Victoria Zerby and Braden Bowen. The Student Council has some upcoming events, including on Friday, September 17th, we have a gold out for pediatric cancer at the football game versus York Suburban. We will be canning, which will help support our mini-thon and 4 diamonds. The next day, on Saturday, Student Council is hosting a community yard sale, which will also raise money for mini-thon. Please come out and support and enjoy snow cones from Aloha Snow. Lastly, the high school picture day is on September 27th. And before I end, we're going to talk about our sports and extracurriculars. Marching band got first place at their first competition at Hempfield with a score of 72.78 over the weekend, which has been one of their highest scores at the first competition in years. Field hockey is 2-1, girls soccer 2-1, boys soccer 2-3, and football is 0-3, but last night their JV team won. Cross country is doing well, and so is golf, and girls volleyball is 1-1. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Educational presentation, Dr. Becker.
Yes, good evening. Dr. Robert Walker, elementary principal, is here to provide you with some information about kindergarten readiness in our district and some of the interventions that we have in place and some that we are requesting that we bring into place very soon. Dr. Walker?
Thank you, Dr. Becker. As she alluded to this evening, I'm going to share some information regarding information we've gathered, not only in our schools but around our community regarding our students' readiness for kindergarten. In 2016, we responded to a concern our teachers had here in the district regarding their perception of the school readiness levels of our incoming kindergarten students. The perception they had at that time was that our incoming students to kindergarten seemed to be less and less prepared for school learning. So we do what we do. We're good with our data. We analyze trend level data and notice that indeed the number of students coming into kindergarten who were performing below or well below national average on national readiness assessments was increasing. In addition, we looked at trend level data for the level of poverty in the district. That data was shared in 2016. Mr. Keller recently brought this up in conversation. He asked us to update the board regarding this type of data and analysis. And through some of the assessments, although some of the assessments have changed, we were still able to share some relevant trend data this evening. So this was a slide that we presented again in 2016, but we have been able to update it to include all of our school districts. And the two columns you see furthest left is the name of the school district. And these are all York County school districts, by the way. And we looked at a couple of years in terms of August of 05 to 06, August in the years 15 and 16, and the years 2018 and 19. And that's where we're able to gather data from the October 1st PIM submission. So basically, districts are required to gather this data in terms of free and reduced students in their schools. And report that in terms of the population. So you notice Eastern York at the bottom, highlighted in yellow. We began that adventure in 2005, 2006 as one of the lowest school districts in terms of social and economic status or need. If you look as we progressed through the years, by the time we hit 2015 and 2016, we had nearly doubled. And you look at 2018 and 2019, we seem to have maintained that level, but again, showing that we were the third largest growing in terms of socioeconomic status in terms of need, but also the third highest percentage county-wide in terms of all school districts comparing us. Although this information wasn't published for the 2019-2020 school year due to the pandemic, we were able to collect that information from our local data services here in the district. And we did determine that the 46.16% of our students would have been applicable for free and reduced lunch. Now, that number may have been hindered by the fact that last year and this year, all students are able to receive free lunch here at school. So families may have not felt the need to submit that form, albeit that is very important to us for a variety of reasons. One, tracking information like this, and two, for a lot of federal funding. So that does impact us. We do encourage our families still to submit those applications, but we know we are still going to provide free lunch for our students. So we drill down a little further to look at what this impacts us at the elementary level specifically. And there's a couple of interesting pieces of information that I do want to point out to the board this evening. And we looked at a 4-year window here between our 3 elementary schools, Canadockley, Wrightsville, and Hvac Creek. And some interesting things we did notice. Hvac Creek and Canadockley have pretty much relatively stayed the same. Not too significant of a growth for Canadockley. Hvac Creek did increase by about 6% over that time. But one of the ones we did notice that really jumped out to us was the increase for Wrightsville. And just to bring that to the board's attention, I know that's information that you value in your decision making. I think it's important that we do share that with you and keep you apprised of this. So socioeconomic status and community programming are just some of the things we consider when we're looking at making educational decisions driving our program here at Eastern York. And another thing I think that's important that we look at is class sizes. And this is a historical look at class sizes since about 2016. And I'll tell you why the year 2016 is important for this presentation for a couple reasons in a couple slides here. But if you look during the 2016, 17, and 18 school years, you see some elevated numbers that jump out to you on the screen there in terms of class sizes. And I want to commend the board for your commitment in recent times. Dr. Mancuso has brought some different processes and procedures and enlightened us with some decision making on how we're staffing our classrooms and knowing how we're going to serve our students coming in, specifically the kindergarten level, who we know are coming in with challenges. And again, I want to thank the board for making that commitment. Specifically this year, we were able to significantly reduce class size at Hvac Creek. But if you'll notice there, for 2019, 2020, and 2021, we did meet that threshold and actually were under the board policy 126 of that less than 23 per primary classroom. So I wanted to thank you for that and share that with the board as well. So let's look at another data point. For those of you who like to triangulate data and do research, here you go. You've been waiting for this all night. Like I said, we still run Ainsworth. That is still the national benchmark assessment we use 3 times a year for every student K to 5 to understand where our students are going throughout the year in terms of academic growth and how we stack up against the nation at large. So you'll notice some of the categories we examined in kindergarten in the 2008 to the 2015 test. We now use an updated version of this, but this is the information we got from this assessment. Letter naming, oral counting, and number ID were the important categories. And if you look left to right on this graphic here, you'll notice that we have a trend where we were starting to increase the number of students that were in need. Now, albeit this is a very small sample size of what we asked them to do, the assessment they are given now is still Ames-Webb, but it is a much more robust assessment, and the numbers are going to look a little bit different on the side. But I want you to be aware, over that 7-year trend, we were seeing an increase in students' ability to perform at the 50th percentile and above for a trend over 7 years. So, one of the things we noticed, hey, we have a need coming to our door. What can we do? So, I looked into a variety of things at that time. I had been with the district at that point, would have been my 6th year, and I did some investigating in terms of what can I bring to the district, knowing that we have some serious financial restrictions on what we can do, just because we're governed by our budgeting process. And we looked into some pre-K intervention strategies. And one of the things that I came upon through some community partnerships, and mostly through the United Way, was a program called Ready for Ready. And since 2016, we have had, you see our numbers there on our presentation, about 1/3 to almost 1/2 of our incoming kindergartners do come to this program prior to school. Now, the last 2 years, we were able to have it. It was digital. It was all pre-recorded, but they still got the experience. And the things that we noticed that they needed were children's strengths and needs, identifying them with their parents, setting and achieving goals with the parents and students, literacy skills, numeracy skills, social emotional skills, and helping your children learn prior to coming to school. So again, we know we only had 2 to 3 preschool in our district's footprint. So this was a need that was identified, and I was able to work with a variety of community partnerships to bring this to the district to help address this need of our students coming into kindergarten. So what does that mean for the district? Well, the approximate cost of Ready for Ready, it's not free. It's about $95 per student. And I thought that was actually pretty reasonable for the experience they get. It's 4 sessions in the summer, an hour and a half each session. Each student leaves with a nutritious snack and a book from the evening. There's also a readiness and activity kit that goes home every night. But then you also have to look at the staffing cost. I think all but one current kindergarten teacher has been a part of this in this district since that date. I believe all of our Title I and RTI teachers throughout that process have been involved. All of our school counselors have been involved in that program. They felt it was that valuable. They wanted to come into the summer and work with our students to build those relationships prior to coming to the building. I would also like to say a personal thank you to Jess Proud, my school counselor. She has been instrumental in the training and the programming that came with this, so I want to personally acknowledge her as well. So, over that time span, we've looked at 384 students have been able to receive, at no cost to our students, prior to coming to Eastern New York, some type of pre-kindergarten experience. Whether they were able to go to preschool or not, we were able to deliver this program at no cost from the district. And if you look at what that would total to be, what that cost could have been to the district, and this is, again, no cost to the district, approximately $36,000 in free programming we provided to our families before they walked in the door at one of our elementary schools. So, new assessment, let's look where we're at. And I'll be honest, I took a hard swallow when I saw that 81% of our students not ready for letter naming fluency, just learning their letters. This is 2016. And number naming fluency, 53% of our students not being at that national average of where we need our students to be. Now, what I would say over this period of time, if you recall the 3 slides ago, over a 7-year trend, we saw about a 12% increase in our students' level of need. What we have noticed in the past 4 years is that we have leveled off, or in fact actually decreased the amount of students coming in to kindergarten in terms of their academic readiness. Now, one of the things that may be a contributing factor to this, and I think that if we're exposing at least one-third of our students to pre-K programming on a yearly basis, I think Ready for Ready may have had a significant impact, and you may want to consider that as something that has significantly impacted our students' readiness, ready to come into kindergarten. So once they're in our doors, we're bound to respond to what their needs are. And we call that MTSS, and it's called tiered intervention. So we have our students in our core, which is our Tier 1, students who need a little bit more support in Tier 2, and then students who are really struggling in Tier 3 that just need those extra academic supports to be able to achieve just like every other student. And I thought this slide was very interesting. This was courtesy, I believe Dr. Becker shared this with me, and I believe Meg Rischel has gathered this data, and this is something very important to her. This is just literacy data, but I think it's important that you see that on the far right, beginning in 2016, 90% of our students needed some type of intervention. And if you look at the very bottom, now, albeit that's the 2020 school year, they may have not gotten any type of preschool experience at all, so we did see a spike there. I would attribute that obviously to the pandemic and not being able to access those types of materials at preschool. But if you look at the year before that, when everything was operating as normal, we saw an 18% drop in students who needed intervention. So I think that's important to see that they're coming to school more prepared. We are being proactive in our decisions and identifying students who may need help. So, this evening, if you were not here for our operations committee, we saw Ruby speak, and I think this is super important that we are committed as a district and as a community to starting our pre-K counts program. We have identified a community need for our students and their families, and as a district, we have put our heads together and collectively problem solve in order to provide an opportunity for our students to experience school who may not have had that opportunity without something like this, and continue with Ready Freddy to continue to help support our families and students to make sure that they are ready to meet the rigors of our academic program. So, a lot of numbers, a lot of data. If you have any questions regarding that or how we arrived at some of these decisions, I would be more than pleased to entertain any questions. Thank you for your time. I know this is something that you value and keep very dear to your heart as we program for our students, so thank you. Mr. Depp.
Dr. Walker, is there anything that you can see on the horizon that we may be able to, as a board, to assist you in for the students coming in, kindergarten, the elementary school areas? No, that's not a blank check to do whatever you want. But I'm just asking, is there anything we need to be aware of that we may be able to prepare for or look at or help you in your endeavors? I think
Sure.
This is a very important part of what we do.
Yeah, and this is really a passion of mine. Ironically, I started as a middle school teacher and a high school assistant principal. Never dreamed that I'd be standing here, 10 years in my elementary principal career, discussing pre-K learning. But honestly, it's become a passion of mine, and I've been being really close to the community. I think one of the things, obviously, I appreciate your fiscal support with class sizes and those types of things, but I think also just having an ear to the ground and being connected with our community, knowing what our needs are from a socioeconomic status, from an emotional standpoint, all of those things, and just keeping in touch with our community. And when we do come to the board for support for whether it's resources or programming, just be willing to trust us with our needs and be willing to support us.
Yeah, please let us know. This is near and dear to my heart. So
Yeah.
thank you very, very much for this.
Thank you.
If I may add, in addition to the pre-K counts program, we also had the opportunity this year to be involved with the Penn State initiative called Go Pals. Unfortunately, because we're bringing the pre-K counts program in, we're focusing in on that this school year, and we'll become involved with the Go Pals program, which would be 4 months prior to a student entering kindergarten. They would begin to receive monthly materials that would also prepare them for kindergarten. So we are going to continue to work at this initiative to provide as many opportunities to our pre-K students before they actually enter into the district and be school ready.
And some of those materials can be as simple as a text message to parents to inspire an idea when you're sitting at a dinner table at a restaurant, of how to have a conversation about little things like that. They're fascinating programs.
I'd just like to say thank you, Dr. Walker, and thank you, Dr. Becker, for presenting this tonight, because as you know, this is very close to me and a very high interest of mine, because the numbers show we need something. With limited child care in our community, it doesn't help. So I, again, want to thank you. The pre-K counts program, I'm really anxious to see how that impacts this program. And the other thing, I know you're really working on it. If there's anything we can do for the current child care programs, there's some local churches that have some stuff, whatever we can do to support them, to help the kids be ready, please let us know.
Thank you. I know we saw how willing our community is to support our schools last year during our 2-week closure. The local churches were phenomenal in opening up their doors and supporting us, so I know we have tremendous community support there. Just keeping that idea of making sure that there's a strong foundation to our learning and focusing on our primary learners who are our most vulnerable learners oftentimes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay, thank you. you, Dr. Walker, and that's the end of the education presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tucker. Okay, we've reached the point of the agenda for hearing of the patrons. This part is for agenda items only. We know why you guys are here. There will be a point at the end of the meeting that you guys can speak on that. We'll have a statement that we'll read before that point too. But this point is just for items that are on the agenda. So does anybody have anything for an agenda item? Yeah, that's probably best. Yep. And if you could just state just your name and your, or just put your name and address on there. Do we have something down there for them?
Yeah, and they can just put their name, they don't need.
Okay, all right, name's fine. Yeah.
So I just had a question, 2 questions. So the ductwork inspection that was done, so you're putting that out to bid on who the contractor is that is going to be actually do the cleaning, is that correct?
That's not on the agenda tonight, that was for operations, and we're not making any votes on that this evening.
Isn't that what we were just talking about?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was a different meeting though. You can speak on that.
We're not asking the board to make any votes on that this evening. We'll be doing a bid on that before the board.
So who will get to bid on that is my question.
Various contractors, we'll send it out for bid.
And then is the Wrightsville, the ERW wheel, that's on the agenda, I saw it on this one and the other one. So my question to you would be, I used to work at H.B. McClure. They are one of the most expensive contractors in all of the area. Why are we choosing to go with H.B. McClure? Their hourly rate is outrageous when there are cheaper options out there for us to use. And are we looking at finding a cheaper option than H.B. McClure, which has the highest hourly rate in this area?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when we go out to bid, first of all, there's something called prevailing wage, and every contractor that bids for a school project is required to meet that requirement. So we don't make judgments about what they're paying, what their hourly salary or rate is. We look at the full bid, and we're required to take the lowest bid that comes in for any deal, unless the contractor is unqualified to do the work.
So you already got other bids than H.B. McClure?
I don't know where we are in that process specifically.
I don't think we sent it out.
I don't think their finding was that because of the difficulty of work, it was difficult to find anybody that was willing to do the work.
Yeah, okay. Which makes sense.
I'm sorry, we did have 2 contractors, and H.B. McClure was the lowest.
Okay. All right, that was my questions on both of them.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for an agenda item? Okay, like I said, there'll be another opportunity. All right, Secretary's report, Mrs. Weaver.
Thank you. Under budget and finance, I would be asking for a motion for items number 8.1 to 8.4.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for 8.1 through 8.4. Questions, comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
The next item I have is under operations. I would be asking for a motion for item 9.1 through 9.5, and would like to add that on 9.2 it would be pending the administration's review of Duct to ensure there's at least a 1-year warranty on the labor.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on 9.1 through 9.5. Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
And then under Secretary's donations and disposals, I would be asking for a motion for 10.1 and 10.2.
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on 10.1 and 10.2?
I have just one question, Mr.
Yep, sure.
10.1, with the gift time, do we put one at Wrightsville also, or not?
We usually pay for one at Wrightsville.
Okay.
They donate one and we
If
pay
you
for
donate
one.
one, we pay for one?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And then the last item I have is under Secretary's Report Miscellaneous, which is the PSBA slate of candidates. There was also the packet, there was 2 people for President-elect. I am putting the one there that's being recommended. So I would be asking for a motion for that.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments on 11.1? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And thank you, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Weaver. Superintendent's report, Dr. Mancuso.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. 12.0, Superintendent Report Personnel. Motion to approve 12.1 through 12.4. Motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on 12.1 through 12.4. Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes.
13.0, Superintendent Report Curriculum. Motion to approve 13.1 and 13.2.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on 13.1 and 13.2. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes.
No additional items for me for approval this evening. Thank you, Mr. Malone.
Okay. Reports. Okay, so again, we're reached the point for the President's report, and we understand why everybody's here. So before we get to your comments, I'm just going to kind of read something here that the board's position. So the first thing we want to do is we want to thank everybody for attending our meeting tonight, and also for the many emails and comments that we've received regarding the August 31st, 2021 order of the Acting Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Health requiring masks in school. We have heard from many citizens about the concerns on the DOH order, and we know this issue is very important to you. There is no action item on the agenda tonight to the DOH order, but we want you to all know our stance on the issue and what we plan to do about it. Prior to the recent DOH order, the Eastern New York Board adopted a health and safety plan that allowed for optional masking. 9-0, we voted for that. This is still our preference. You know where we stand on the issue. We want masks to be optional. We have serious concerns about the requirements of the DOH order. It has placed on our school staff, administrators, it has placed a very difficult situation for our staff and administrators. Both the DOH and Department of Health, or the Department of Education, have provided minimal support and guidance on the enforcement of the order. Please understand the mask mandate came directly from the Department of Health. It is absolutely nothing that our school board requested or endorsed. And we're primarily frustrated and disappointed with the Department of Health order for 2 reasons. First, we received no prior notice for the Department of Health order. The Acting Secretary of Health chose to adopt this order just a few days into the school year with no prior warning and no time for the school district to prepare and react. It was poor timing. Second, the Department of Health order strips away our local control. We believe that local communities and local boards are in the best position to make decisions about the health and safety of our students. Department of Health took that local authority away from us on this issue. Our school board has already adopted a thorough and thoughtful health and safety plan over the summer. We believe our locally developed health and safety plan would have been successful. Then, with no prior warning, Department of Health disregarded our plan, dropped a bomb on us, and took away our local control. We sincerely hope that we can restore our local control as soon as possible. The Department of Health order has placed the district and our administrators in an unattainable position. While the vast majority of our students and staff are complying with the Department of Health order, we know what a small minority intend to define the order. This may cause disruption and distraction from the educational process. We are asking our school community to continue to work with us to achieve our primary mission: keep our schools and classrooms open for learning with no disruptions. We know this is a very important and frustrating issue for many. The school board shares your frustration. To that end, in my capacity as board president, I'm announcing that we will take the following steps in response to the many voices and concerns we have heard. First, the school board will be writing to the Department of Health and Education to express our strong opposition to the Department of Health order and demand that our local control be restored. We will join with other school districts in this effort. This letter will be mailed tomorrow, and a copy will be placed on our website for you to review. If you are against the Department of Health order, we encourage you to join with us and contact the Department of Health directly to express your concerns. Second, we are directing our administration to work with any student or staff who wishes to request an exemption from the mask order based on a medical or mental health condition. While we cannot disregard the order, we will certainly grant exemptions where warranted. We are fully aware that the exemption procedures vary from district to district, and we have directed our solicitor and administration to streamline the mask exemption process as much as possible while still complying with the law. Third, we are expressing our support for lawsuits that have already been filed against the Department of Health order. Many legal arguments have been made about the legality of the Department of Health order. Those arguments will need to be resolved in the court system. That's why we have checks and balances in our government. We are aware that one lawsuit that has been filed with the Commonwealth Court seeking an emergency injunction to stop the Department of Health order. It is our understanding that the court will hold a hearing on this case Thursday, September 16th. We hope the court will grant the emergency injunction to stop the Department of Health order. If the Commonwealth does not grant the injunction, we will quickly honor, if the court does grant the injunction, we will quickly honor the decision and revert back to our mask optional health and safety plan. We are directing our solicitor to actively monitor the lawsuit and offer any support and assistance where we can provide. We support the effort of the lawsuit to restore local control. We will take additional steps as necessary to restore our mask optional, locally developed health and safety plan. Thank you for your patience and support and understanding as we work through this very difficult and challenging time. Regardless of your feelings on this issue, we ask you to continue to support your children's teachers and staff to make our classrooms stay open with no distractions. Thank you. Okay. Committee reports. Mr. Chevrolet, Budget and Finance.
Yeah, there was no Budget and Finance meeting this month. Operations Committee was held earlier a few hours ago, and we went over a number of items, including the K-Counts initiative that's being undertaken.
Thank you. Mr. Reese, co-curricular.
Co-curricular and policy did not meet this month.
Okay. When is the next co-curricular meeting?
October
1st. She said October 1st.
yeah. October 1st. Okay, there you go. Thank you, ma'am.
York County School of Technology, Mr. Shelley.
Thank you. I have to apologize. I did not have a report ready for tonight. I somehow got mixed up and thought the meeting was Thursday night, but whatever. I tend to give a small report on something new that potentially will help some students. And here's what it's all about. It was on August the 25th of last month, the meeting. And I just wrote something down here, I'm going to read it. This is the first meeting in person since the virus was over a year ago. Shut the meetings down. Let me get this. Something new that will benefit students. The administration requested from the PIAA for permission to allow students that were involved in a sports program at the sending district and at the Hvac school, that student could not participate because the Hvac didn't have that sport or activity. So at the Hvac school, okay, I'm going to speak from memory rather than reading. I can't always see it. What it means is students, you know and I know, get very much involved in their sports or band or whatever, and for instance, even the band, there's no band program, I don't think, at Hvac. Is that right, Mr. Bailey? I don't believe. Anyhow, nothing's passed, but anyhow, the PIA told the Hvac administration that for them to investigate and to make a recommendation, they needed the support of the local operating committee. So that's what came before our committee, and it was passed unanimously, and they were all spoke well and thought that this could help students. Now, again, nothing's done at this point. I guess, I don't know how long it'll take, but we feel it's something that could and should be done. That's all I'm going to report on. The next meeting is September the 23rd, which is next week. And I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
Can I ask one question, Darby?
Yes.
So what you're saying is...
Oh, wait. Go ahead now.
What you're saying is if a student, what you asked permission from the PIA is if a student wants to play lacrosse and Hvac doesn't have lacrosse, they can go back to Eastern and play lacrosse.
Yes. Basically, now I don't know the implications if the sending school district would want that to happen. I guess it'd be, but I can assure you, if it's a good player, they want it. You know, I'm just saying, it's in the works.
So, and that would also be,
Pardon?
it would also be for the band and everything? Also?
My understanding is anything that PIA is involved and have authority over, yes. But it's really not many programs. I think lacrosse is one of them. It's not many, I can tell you that. But we do have a program with other schools. For instance, your country day school does not have certain programs, and their students can participate in Hvac's program, which is good for the students. And this, I think, is probably a good path. Everybody will support you. So it's something new. I don't know why it never come up before, but here it is. Thank you.
Mr. Keller, we will have to explore further about band because that's not part of a PIAA sanctioned sport. We'll have to
What's the band on that?
Okay, yeah. This is the first I heard of this,
Did you say the band? Well, I'm sorry if I said that. I don't know. Any program that they have authority over, that's what.
Thank you, Mr. Shell. Mr. Zepp, York County School of Technology Authority.
Thanks, Mr. Malone. The meeting was on September 2nd. I did not attend, it was virtual. It was a very quick meeting. Very simple thing. It was really maintenance of paying some bills, winding out the gym initiative. Very simple things, very low dollars here. It's $19,000 to finish out the bathroom down below. That was approved. And there was about a $15,000 reconciliation for a change order, very small, still under budget. And that's about it. The next meeting is November 4th. They did say that they're going to look at getting us some tour times if you guys want to go in as a board. Doing York Adams Academy?
Yep, go right into it.
York Adams Academy, we're meeting in person again. I did attend that meeting, I think it was last week sometime. Paying some bills, that kind of thing. It was really business as usual, nothing amazing. There was one thing that I did bring up, as all of you know, I have a heart for junior ROTC, and I just threw it out for consideration that if there was an opportunity to put junior ROTC in York Adams Academy, which is a stretch, which is just exploratory, they are looking at least seeing if it's possible, practical, all of that jazz between the district, participation, room size, all of that. So I know for the last 10 or 15 years we've looked at it around here. Didn't make sense many years. So I thought I'd bring it up for discussion there at York Adams Academy. And I believe Dr. Mancuso will be taking over as in a couple of months, I believe, right? 2 months.
I'll become superintendent of record for that academy in October.
Right. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Zepp. Okay. Reach the point for final board questions or comments. Anybody have anything? Okay. Reach the point for final patron comments. What we're going to do, so everybody gets an opportunity, we are going to limit you to 3 minutes, and we're going to limit this to an hour and 15 minutes. So, whoever's up, go ahead. And just come up there and then, like I said, just sign in if you could. And I'll let you know when your time's up.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. My name is Troy Livingston, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I have serious concerns regarding how our district is handling the current power struggle between the governor, the legislature, and the voters of Pennsylvania. Living in our community, and I think you've acknowledged this, you're seeing just how divisive the mandatory face covering order is. As a board, you are in a position to promote unity and healing in our community by allowing parents to choose what is best for their children. I believe it's crucial the board understands that you do have discretion to interpret the face covering order in a variety of ways, including allowing parents to determine whether masking is in the best interest of their children's mental or physical health. For the record, I did follow Section 903 of board policy, and I requested Dr. Mancuso to add this to the agenda this evening so you could vote on it, but I was denied. And I am still waiting for a response when this will be added to the agenda, as I believe is our right. I'd like to start with a quick review of state law that Caitlin Milletta referenced as the guiding principle that EYSD is using to vet mask exemption requests, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. The most salient point concerning Section 504 is that the Health Department order merely recommends, it does not mandate, that any exception be in accordance with eligibility under Section 504. It further states that school entities should follow their established processes for determining student eligibility under those laws, and it appears that you are interpreting this as a requirement that parents present a medical certification from a licensed physician. To reiterate, the Health Department order merely recommends application of 504. It does not mandate it, and you have broad liability protection under state law. Southwestern, Central York, and Southeastern have approached the mask mandate with a more open-minded protocol and have chosen not to follow 504 to determine medical or mental health conditions or disabilities. I sent each of you an email on September 9th at 4:42 with a PDF copy of Southeastern's mask exemption form and a link on the website of Central to their form. These documents are clear-cut, absolve the district of liability, and leave the decision-making authority where it should be with the parents. I would request that you immediately begin using these exemption options. Our solicitor, Brooks Day, should be able to easily assist with this as she or her firm work for both Central and Southeastern. I would also encourage you to draft a letter similar to what Red Lion sent, and it sounds like you're probably in the process of doing that as well. I really think their letter was well written, and I think it's emblematic of how our community feels. Finally, I would like to just mention that, we are the voters, and we've elected you, and we spoke 70-30 as an aggregate group in all wards in all areas of the district against the governor's overreach and for the constitutional amendments. So I think you have a clear mandate from us to return control back to us. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your service.
Hi, my name is Lori Tanner. I'm a mom to 4 students in the district, ranging from 5th to 12th grade. I'm also the attendance secretary at Wrightsville Elementary. First, I want to say that I respect each of you on the board and in leadership positions. Thank you for serving. Few of us here would want to carry the weight of your jobs. That being said, I'd like to ask you to please vote to allow the parents the right to choose what they believe is in the best interest of their children. You said just a few minutes ago in your statement that you don't agree with the DOH order. Then I urge you to stand up to it, not just with a letter. Put your, quote, strong opposition into action. Your inaction and cooperation with the order, to me, looks like you are being complicit. I understand you to say that that's not in your intention, but that's what it looks like. It feels to me like you're waiting for someone else to make a stand. You can choose to reject the DOH order. You can choose to revoke the mandate at Eastern. You don't have to wait for the court's decision in order to do the right thing. And just in case you're on the fence about it, I want to just address a couple misconceptions that I see that maybe you could reconsider. Misconception number 1, the governor has a mandate that we must follow. False. I believe the governor does not have and should not have decision-making authority over our schools or our children. It's not his job, it's ours, and it's yours. And we voted for you, our school board, because we believe that you would represent our interests. Please hear us and represent us and make decisions based on the voice of this community. Please stand up to the governor and this mandate. Please support parent choice. Misconception number 2, children are at risk if they wear masks, or if they don't wear masks, children are at risk if they don't wear masks. That's false. Because of my job tracking attendance at Wrightsville, I've seen the numbers every day since the beginning of the school year. Unfortunately, I can't give specifics because I've not been authorized to do so, but please ask the school administrators for the actual numbers. They have them. What I feel I can say is that there have been very few positive cases among our students, and to my knowledge, all of the students who were COVID positive have recovered very well. When there has been a positive case, there has not been widespread outbreak in the students with whom they had contact. Let me repeat that. Even before the mask mandate, there was not widespread outbreak. Students who were in close contact with COVID cases have overwhelmingly tested negative. Allowing our students to attend school unmasked is not posing a great risk of exposure to them. Myth number 3, wearing masks in the classroom will prevent COVID. False. I'm not an expert in virology, so I will not refute the belief that masks may help the prevention of COVID, but let's be honest, even if the masks are effective, first, students are not wearing them in every environment. They're not wearing them at sports practices or while playing with friends or at work or Boy Scouts. Therefore, the potential threat of exposure is not eliminated simply by mandating masks at school. Secondly, students are not wearing their masks consistently and correctly. I've personally seen children pull their mask down, wipe their nose, put it back up. I've seen them put it on inside out.
Your time's up.
Thank you.
Yep.
You can have my 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Melody Stein and I live in Helen Borough. My children attend Christ Creek Elementary and Eastern York Middle School. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the school board's decision so far to uphold the mandate as set forth by the state. I don't want to speak on the issue of personal freedoms because those here tonight that have those issues need to direct their fight with Harrisburg, not with our school board members, educators, and administrative staff of our schools. I want to briefly speak on 2 things: statistics here in York County and the death rate numbers among school faculty in Florida that have been in school with 0 mitigation efforts in place. Firstly, a member of my church is a doctor who works at a community health center in downtown York. Of the 17 ICU beds that York Hospital has, there are now 27 in use. That's right, 10 makeshift rooms were established to handle the onslaught of COVID-19 patients with the current uptick. Of those, 26 are unvaccinated. The WellSpan Rehab Hospital that had recently reopened in late spring is now finally shut down again and is being used as a COVID overrun ward. It is right now nearly at its capacity. The surge is real. Any mitigation effort helps. That said, kids are inherently germ spreaders. They don't properly wash hands, their hands go in their mouths, they rub their eyes. We know this. Any parent who's had a child in daycare or school knows this. Why wouldn't we take every effort to eliminate our children from spreading this virus to their families and school staff? And speaking of school staff, the statistics coming out of Florida are eye-opening. Across the state of Florida, 46 active school staffers and educators have died from COVID-19, and 10 K-12 students have died since their reopening was put in order with zero mitigation. Miami-Dade County School District has had 13 of their staff pass away since the school year began on August 23rd. I don't dare think of what that would be like if it hit our district. Everyone arguing whether or not students should be masked because the death rate in children is low need to consider two things. Not only how it could affect their child's actual education if the number of teachers can't be met, but also that no number above zero is acceptable for K-12 death of a student in our district. Lastly, I don't live in fear. I myself have an autoimmune disease and I still go places and do things with my family, but with proper mitigation efforts in place. I have no idea how COVID-19 would affect me, but neither does anyone in this room unless they contract it. I'm simply asking that we follow the science and continue to utilize masking as an effective mitigation effort in our schools so that our community as a whole can be safer and continue to support the education of our students this school.
I'm up.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thank you. And I'm just going to say right now, if we don't give everybody the same respect, we're going to get up and walk out of here. Okay? So we're not going to say anything when you guys talk, but whoever talks, give them respect or we'll be out of here. Next up.
Laurie Lehman. And I have a letter from another parent that had a work obligation. Will that be included in my 3 minutes or count as hers?
That'll be included in your 3 minutes.
Okay. So if someone wants to read it.
But I will say that though, if anybody has any comments, and Lori, you can send that in. We've got a bunch of comments that are coming into the board, so honestly, you can send that in and do it that way.
All right. Well, I'm thankful for everybody, whether you're for or against the mask. I am very thankful for all the parents that are here. Board meetings with parents has been very few, I know, over the many years. So whether you're for or against the mask, thank you for being here in support for your kids. I have a question, I have a bunch of questions stating the exemptions. So Eastern is allowing exemptions, I'm asking you, are they allowing exemptions as far as medical, mental?
Yes, we review every situation individually, and we have granted some exceptions. Yes.
What about religious exemptions?
That does not apply.
All right, that's and I want to bring this. I know we've talked about this at other board meetings, but there's a lot of people here who have not been coming to board meetings, and just for you to reiterate to everybody here, your decisions on masking has nothing to do with the funding that you're receiving for the government related to COVID, correct?
Has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Okay. So Thursday you were supposed to have a board meeting, am I correct? And then that was canceled and set for tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So Darvin, that's probably why you didn't have your report ready, because you thought it was Thursday. Okay. And another thing I just want to bring, Dr. Mancuso, I know this has nothing to do with why we're here, but while I'm here, I'm addressing you. See You at the Pool is next Wednesday, September 22nd. Elementaries, 8:30 a.m., meet at their flagpole, 7 a.m. for middle school and high school, and it's student-led where parents and teachers, students come to the flagpole to pray for our nation and anything else you want to pray about. So all of you are welcome to be there. So I'm not sure where my time is, but maybe I can start reading this. This is from Crystal Bolton. I currently have 3 boys attending East New York High School. She's asked me to read. Her concern is that, she says, I'm sure is the case with the majority of residents, parents, taxpayers attending this meeting is about the Department of Health ordering requiring masks. She's saddened by the tactics that are being used to enforce this unlawful order. She wants to direct your attention to the East New York Handbook, specifically the section regarding student code of conduct and discipline. And she said, Eastern New York has violated its own policies by the way of harassment, intimidation, coercion against its own student body. On September 7th, student athletes were threatened with being benched if they did not comply with the mask mandate. Some students were harassed and intimidated by teachers.
All right, Laura, your time's up.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank
You
you.
can send that in. Thank you.
Yeah.
name is Christine Sowers. I do not have any kids in the school, and I'm thankful for you all that you are here and the importance, and I have to apologize for what I'm going to speak about, and I'm going to be directing more towards you than them. I'm here concerned about the new building project. In the last year, with COVID, it has kind of been ignored, but they are proceeding with it. In fact, they have not updated the website. The last time the website was updated, it was January 23rd of 2020. Since then, they have done two more drawings. They have gone before boards, zoning and planning and board of supervisors with both Helm and North Windsor. At least 8 meetings. I have the updated drawings if anybody's interested. Now that, if you're not aware, the school is going to be built on the practice field at the corner of Pisgah and Cold Creek. So the school will be losing a practice field. Because of their redrawing, it will no longer really have any play areas for the kids. Their thing is they can go up to the high school campus to do recess and gym. There's really no play facilities up there because the access is going to be going through the high school, and that's the way you can get in. If you as parents or citizens come down Pisgah Road, there's only 2 lanes, and it already backs up beyond those only, and the school has been questioned about people making right turns, and that you will need to enter through the high school. They will prevent you from coming in through All Albany. That is their stance at meetings, and the majority of citizens who have spoke against it. They are not addressing our concerns or issues, and I think their hope is that you are distracted by this whole COVID thing, that you as citizens and us as taxpayers, regardless if we have kids, are not aware, and they're hoping to get through. They have spent $800,000 on this project already. That is not including attorney fees, which Mrs. Weaver has not gotten to me yet. And let's see, and if you question them, they have set up meetings, and even out in the board has said that.
All right, Mrs. Sanders,
they have not.
Thank you.
My name is Angel Fritz. I have 2 kids that go to Eastern York Middle School. I hope that they wouldn't be treated any differently because of my beliefs. I don't think they will. I think we're all better than that. I understand everyone here loves their kids and their adults and just wants the best for them. So I don't want to fight. I just want to say I respect the laws of our state and our school, even when I don't like them or agree with them. I hope that Eastern will respect the laws of our state as well, regardless of what they may be. We respect other rules, like vaccination mandates for school based on safety and health, with dress code based on safety and health, but can't wear such and such open-toed this, that. We respect these rules when we know they work. There have been no instances that I found of children who have died from wearing a mask. I looked. I couldn't find any. It's not a political statement. It doesn't say which way my kid's mom or dad votes or what they think about any other moral issue. It's a piece of cloth, same as my shirt or my pants. It prevents the spread of respiratory droplets. If the law or mandate changes, I'll respect that too. And I hope we can unite as a community to teach our kids that it's just a mask. should be learning and growing with them, not fighting amongst each other. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Livingston. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. 2 years ago, we decided our son should be moved from a small private school to Hvac so that he would have more learning opportunities. He absolutely thrived in 3rd grade there, and he was really, really happy. Always told me, Mom, I'm so glad that you moved me here. And when the pandemic hit, his happy world came to an end, as meant all of us, it did. We struggled every day through temper tantrums, a lot of tears, and then we started trying to do the online learning. We survived, all of us survived. But then when he began the 4th grade last year, he was placed in an enrichment class because he had done so well in 3rd. But the social distancing and masking just were affecting him in such a negative way. And that, along with a couple of quarantines, caused a huge disruption. We begged the school to allow him just to wear a face shield instead, but that was just not okay. It wasn't acceptable. He was constantly being policed and pulled his mask up and harassed. By January, he was pulled from enrichment. He was now failing. He hated school. He had no friends. He was acting out, being disruptive in class. His teacher gave him every opportunity to redo his work, but he chose not to. He was giving up. He just wanted to watch TV or play video games to escape, and this was not my son. Through the very patient efforts of his teacher and myself, we got him through, and he was able to pass the 4th grade. But this is not learning. This is not thriving. When he began 5th grade, he was very happy to be without a mask and once again play with his friends. He started well, but now, again, a nightmare. We, on Tuesday, brought him to school with a medical exemption, so that should have been enough to allow him to stay in school. That's what the mandate says. But the person, the mandate says a person who states they have a medical condition will be exempt. States, a person who states it. But that was not good enough. You're denying my son his education in order to uphold a mandate that you are in reality defying. You physically removed him from school, which it also says you should not do or cannot do. So he spent 3 days at home last week working on his assignments, isolated. He only returned because he was given the option to wear a shield while all of this gets sorted out. Really? I begged for that last year, but it was unacceptable. Tell me, what is the difference now? The rates of childhood depression and suicide are higher now than ever, and I am sorry, a piece of cloth does make a difference. It is a mental health issue. I'm not willing to sacrifice my child's mental health for a mandate from a tyrannical governor to wear a piece of cloth over his face that does not prevent a minuscule virus from entering or leaving his mouth and nose, and neither should you. I ask, is it your goal to educate my children or to police them?
Hi, my name is Allison Blow. I'm from Lower Windsor Township. I have a question before my time starts, please. I have a letter that Representative Stan Saylor sent to the board members. I was wondering, because he couldn't make it tonight, if I could read that and then give my comments, or if I can only choose one.
Yeah, you're on your 3 minutes. We did receive that letter and we read it. I actually even responded to him.
Oh, did you? That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so my time start now?
Yep.
Okay. I appreciate your statement, Mr. Malone, and to the board. I understand that you're in a tough spot. I honestly do. I've been there. I've done that last year. The pressure that is coming on you is going to be tremendous. You're trying to balance enforcement of this order with the will of your constituents while keeping in mind the actual goal of educating our kids. I hear people refer to the CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics guidance on masking kids as reasons to do so. Those organizations can't take into account everyone's individual needs while issuing guidance, and it isn't their job to do so. That is why parents have always been given the final say in their children's medical decisions. Months ago, you knew the guidance and still decided to allow parents to make the decision. I am asking that you stick to your original decision, and I believe Pennsylvania law has set a precedent to do this. And I'm happy that that lady brought up vaccines, because that's what I want to talk about. In 1993, The Pennsylvania law was passed, that was actually passed by the legislator and signed by the governor, how a bill is supposed to become a law, that allowed two different exemptions to vaccines. That is a medical exemption and or a religious or philosophical exemption. I ask that these legal, time-tested vaccine exemption standards also be applied to this mask order. I don't believe that what we're asking for is unreasonable. All we ask is that you allow parents to make medical decisions for their children, and that includes masks. PA lawmakers believed in this principle also, and that's why they allowed exemptions to vaccines. Could you provide clarity, please, Dr. Mancuso, probably not right now, but when you said how the exemption process will be streamlined, if you could do that, I would appreciate it. Let me be clear, we are not asking for nobody to ever wear masks. If people are concerned and want their children to wear masks, they can, because as parents, they understand what is best for their child. But the lady before mentioned statistics, so I want to bring up statistics also. I don't know if anyone keeps up on this, and maybe it's kind of morbid to keep up with the death rate of COVID. However, in York County, the 7-day average for COVID deaths today is 1, and it hasn't been above 2 since February 17th. Does that number justify this governor's obsession with coercing 2-year-olds into masks? Do those numbers justify the trampling of parental rights? I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe we are in a place in the United States of America where I am asking 9 strange men. No, you're not strange, you're strangers, sorry. 9 men who are strangers for permission to make medical decisions for me and my children. The only thing I ask of you is that you allow exemptions that parents sign without needing a doctor's note. Thank you.
I'm Bradley, and I'm a senior at Eastern York High School. I feel that we shouldn't have to wear masks. From my experience, it's hard to breathe, and mask breaks aren't enough. Some people may have physical or breathing problems that affect them from wearing a mask. Wearing a mask are more for sick people, not for healthy people. It's also not right for vaccinated to run around wearing a mask for 14 days while unvaccinated has to quarantine. It's not okay to punish students who refuse to wear a mask, but it should be a choice. How does it make sense? When quarantined, our grades start to drop from not having in-person learning, but it's not fair because I wasn't sick. But also, how does it make sense when it's a holiday? I should be out shorter, but when there's no holiday, I should be quarantined for another week. It feels like the school is acting like my parents and acting like they know what's best for me, but in reality, my parents know what's best for me. It doesn't even matter if we wear masks anyways, because it doesn't help because we still can get COVID.
I just want to talk to you guys briefly. My name's Lou. I'm a former veteran, like a lot of people that are here tonight actually are. I have 4 children in the district, 3 of which have never been vaccinated, and then a 4th. These mandates that we're enforcing that come from Harrisburg, we understand that, but we've elected you all to be the buffer. No more do we know what's going on in Harrisburg than do they know what's going on here in Eastern School District. That's what you all are here for. You all knew that the injunction was put in to try to block this bill. And instead of saying, we're going to hold off and look at everything as a whole as it comes through, we just jump through all the hoops to try to get everything in line with a week's notice. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. We're taking orders from somebody that wasn't even elected in Harrisburg that are pushing orders out to our elected officials. You are supposed to be protecting us and giving us the opportunity to make our own decisions for our own children. That's why we're here tonight. We're not here because we're angry with you as far as your choices. We want you to make the right choice. If this doesn't pan out, we don't elect you guys again. It's not a threat. That's how it works. Your constituents are speaking. We'd like to know that we're being heard. Does that make sense to you guys? That's all we're trying to do. We want you to give us the opportunity to be the medical advisors for our children, which the law allows. That's our right as parents. As far as the exemptions, the child wants to be exempt, the parent wants to exempt them. Doctor's note shouldn't be necessary. We provide the school district as parents with more information about our child than the school district needs. We don't need to give all the information that we give, but most of us do. We're asking you guys to have our back. We support some of the things that go on here, whether we agree with it or not. This affects everybody. Most of us here aren't saying nobody should be wearing a mask. Some people that want their kids to wear a mask want everybody to wear a mask. That's not how it works in America. That's not how we do things. For 230 years, that's how we did it. But now we are for some reason. We need to get back. You all need to get back to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. You need to read it. If you don't know it, you're going to learn it. I know this pains you, but you're our buffer. You need to do it.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Robinson. I have 2 children in the Eastern New York School District, and I recently just pulled them from school because of this mask mandate, and I'm sending them to private school where their exemption for their religious beliefs and our own health beliefs are accepted freely without a medical exemption. I pay school taxes. I own 52 acres in this school. So does everybody else sitting here. We have a choice that our children should not have to wear these masks. I'm going to finish Crystal Bolton's statement from earlier, where on September 7th, student athletes were threatened with being benched if they did not comply with the mask mandate. Some students were harassed or intimidated by teachers for standing up for their rights. Some students were told they were not permitted to return to school if they would not comply. This statement goes directly against discipline procedures. So my question is, do these rules only apply to the students and not the administration? By weaponizing the mask mandate, you've replaced teaching with masking policy and fear. My 6-year-old is scared to not follow the rules because she wants to go to school. She wants to get an on-hands education. Last year in her kindergarten class, when they had to do it virtually, it was a true struggle. And you know what? Her teacher complained because I took her to work with me because I own a family-owned business in Lower Windsor Township, and my phone rings off of the hook during the winter because I own a fuel business. You know, I heat over 2,000 homes in the Eastern New York School District, and the teacher complained because my daughter took her mic off of the mute, and the phone was ringing in the background because she was being a disruption to the classroom. But that's the best we can do because I don't have somebody else watching my children. Also, how much learning are they they able to accomplish when we are worried about the proper wearing of masks? The focus has been lost, and the Eastern New York is failing at their mission to educate our children. My youngest son cannot physically tolerate having a piece of cloth over his nose and mouth for 7 hours a day. My middle son suffers from migraines after wearing this piece of cloth for extended periods of time. My other son tolerates the masking because he needs an in-person instruction. Have you truly thought about the medical and mental well-being of the students you are entrusted from with 7:30 to 2:30 and 9 to 3 each day? Do you not understand what there are many students who are now struggling with undue stress and anxiety due to having to restrict their breathing for hours on end? Why do the masks have to be over their noses? If we are worried about aerosol particles, then covering the mouth should be more than adequate. I, as the parent of my children, assume all risk of potential sickness if they wear their mask improperly. By ignoring or disallowing the exemption forms that we submitted by many parents in this district, you have assumed you know our children better than we do. This is extremely unacceptable, and I stand with this woman. And I personally do not know her. Finally.
Thank you, your time's up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather King. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the inconsistency within the district, between the different schools, within the different teachers, the different principals. I know I've had a conversation with the superintendent about this a few times, and I am just very irritated continually that the policy for quarantine is different if you're at Wrightsville, or if you're at Hvac Creek, or if you're at the high school. We all know that it's not different. We all know that the policy states it's 5 days from the contact, you could be tested. At 2 days after that, which would be day 7, your child can return to school if it's a negative. And 14 days if your child tests positive, or if your child chooses not to get tested. But there have been exemptions made to this rule within our district. Why? I don't understand. I don't understand why nurses from different schools are using different policies. And it's continually to happen over and over and over again. I was told a note should be sent home with every child that's being quarantined so they can see the rules, what has to be done. It's not happening. I don't understand why it's not happening. I don't understand why it says people that are vaccinated don't have to leave school even though they tested positive, they can still go to school. Did you know that? Did you also know that special exemptions have been made to let kids get antigen testing done? I'm going to sit here right now and say I'm totally for this. I know that my whole family has had COVID, the entire family. We all have antigens. But why are some kids allowed to have an antigen test and allowed to immediately return to school when you probably didn't even know that that was happening? Because it's not part of the policy. But it's happening. How come some kids, some teachers, have people in their family that are positive and they are sick, but they're still returning to school to coach, to teach, or to go to school? Why is this happening? Why isn't it consistent throughout the district? I personally don't want my kids in masks. But I did talk to the superintendent. I do want an exemption for one of my kids. I'm not asking for 2. I was only asking for 1. I have one child. She's having a lot of anxiety, partially over the mask, mainly over some other issues that are going on. I wrote a letter. I received an exemption for a whole 2 days. She didn't wear a mask. And then all of a sudden, she's going to wear a mask. Or she had the option to wear a face shield, which she panicked, freaked out. She's like, I can't be here. I need to go home. We picked her up and took her home. We had a long discussion about it. We had a meeting to have our PCP who referred her somewhere else to talk to someone and hopefully get an exemption. But you won't uphold the exemptions. I've already been told. 504s, if you didn't know, 30 days. 30 days for a meeting. 30 days.
parents, taxpayers, board members. My name is Craig Weimer, some of you know me. My daughter is a 4th grader at Croods Creek Elementary. In August 2020, I stood before you and presented evidence why our kids needed to be in school full time. You listened, and then you backtracked with a mask. We complied with tyrannical measures for a year expecting change. The only change we saw is how easily you comply and follow the leader. I advocated for both you and parents. I showed the superintendent ways there could be compromise. I emailed him waiver forms that other schools were doing. And no, Mr. Shevlo, I don't recommend breaking the law as you have publicly implied I do. That's the fabulous thing about waiver of liability. The trust some parents had in you to be competent is dissolving rapidly. We want the right to choose. I advocated for parents to take control back. I recommended alternatives like cyber charter if parents aren't satisfied with the way the school district is doing things. I want parents to be knowledgeable to all avenues at their disposal, no matter what. The district will lose a tune of $12,298.11 for each regular student a year that goes to a charter, and $28,179.71 for a special education student, if they choose to go to Commonwealth Charter Academy or any other cyber charter that's competent. This migration is inevitable. It is happening. Over the weekend, I was told that 40 families moved their students out of the school district for charter. Just over the weekend. Today, masks. Next week, testing. Next month, vaccines. When do we draw the line? You deserve the right of choice. And each situation, each one of your situations is unique. So board members, I present you this. Do you force us parents to use our choice as a weapon, or do you compromise? There's an age-old saying that goes, if you can't beat them, join them. Why don't you partner with a charter like
All right, thank you, Mr. Weinmeier. Your time's up. Thank you.
There will.
I'm Carol Corwell, and I just have a very short presentation here, and this time, and I present it to the board, I present it to everyone in this room. 3 things: be prayerful, be careful, and don't be fearful.
Hi, my name is Ywca. I have my child here and a child I babysit. They go to Hvac Elementary. I pick this little girl up every Tuesday at 3:30, exactly 30 minutes after school hours start. Her mask right here, every time for the past 2 weeks, has been soaking wet. This little girl sucks on her fingers, something she has always done. She now instead sucks on her mask. This is what the mobsters did. Her mask is soaked. I can wring out water, saliva out of her mask. She has extra masks in her backpack that are completely dry, that are never on her face when I pick this little girl up. My son wears this mask if he's not given a blue one on the bus. He complains of headaches. He can't concentrate. I'm just asking for you all to give us back our parental rights. I don't care if I have to sign basically a permission slip, relinquishing you of any kind of if my son tests positive or not. I just want my right, parental right, to make that choice for my child.
Hi, I'm Brittany Ness, and I have a son in kindergarten at Wrightsville Elementary School, and I'm also an employee as well as my daughter at Eastern. Do I want my son to wear a mask? No, but when it comes down to my son getting an education or not wearing a mask, I'm going to go for my child's education. People need to put their own, I have freedom, I have rights, stuff aside, and think of your child's future. Would you rather have them home and you attempt to teach them without any knowledge of that, or have them wear a mask for a few hours a day and get a proper education? Really think about it. Parents are making this more about themselves than their children. The children wore masks. Last year went to school, and the statistics show that the children suffered academically when having to homeschool. So let your child put a piece of cloth over their face, get an education, to grow up to be respectful, intelligent, upstanding adults someday.
Good evening, my name is Alex Myers. I have two students here in Eastern New York School District, one in high school, one in middle school. My son's actually here with me. So kind of want to take in a different direction so you guys understand what these students are experiencing. 702, my son was dropped off at the middle school. There was heavy police presence, which is fine, I understand that. But he was intimidated. We had a discussion the night before, my son has asthma, okay? 803, I was notified by Dr. Shoemaker that the middle school principal, that Logan was in the office. He would not wear a mask. We had a discussion before he went to school. I showed him the mandate. I explained what was going to happen, okay? He has asthma. He was treated 6 times last year during the school year for respiratory infections along with antibiotics. Received a phone call stating that if he did not wear a mask, he was asked twice. I asked if he was courteous. The principal said yes. I would expect that. After that, I was told that I needed to come pick him up. So I told the principal that I was en route. I would pick him up from school. I arrived at the middle school to pick Logan up outside. On the way home, I asked him what happened. He told me he was pulled in the office. He did not speak to a nurse. He did not speak to a guidance counselor. All right. So after that, at 8:11, at 9:05, I received an email, an automated voice message stating my son was absent from school and that he made a note to return to school. So I'm not sure how this all plays out. I understand things are on there. I talked to Dr. Shoemaker about how things are all playing out. They need to figure out how to code things. So in the meantime, I tried to contact the school. 9/11, attempted to contact school. Attendance office twice, could not get through. 9:15, contacted Dr. Shoemaker, unsuccessful, left the message for him. He did get back to me later on in the day. All right. At 9:18, contacted the middle school, spoke with the secretary. She wasn't sure exactly what's going on. I explained to her what was happening. My son has an IEP. In his IEP, under the medical history, it states that he has asthma. Explained that we sent an exemption in. I was told that if he didn't wear a mask, he could not stay in school. So I'm not sure what we're talking about, this whole exemption thing. I specifically asked Dr. Shoemaker later on in the day, what paperwork do I need? I got the complete runaround. I understand the 504, but it is not, we get the runaround over and over again, okay? So at 10:35, I took the young man to the doctor, explained to him, I'm not real sure why I'm here, but we need to have a discussion about options, all right, because the mask is not working out. He was the first one to explain that he might want to look into a face shield. all right? Because that wasn't the mandate from the Department of Health. That was not discussed till later on in the afternoon from Dr. Shoemaker. So I just want to say, in case my time gets cut short, at 1900 that evening, we were basically notified that he had an exposure on the 3rd. He's had COVID, all right? He was notified and then put in quarantine for 14 days. Also,
Thank you. Your time. We got to make the time for everybody. Thank you.
Good evening, parents, students, school board, and other figures in this room. My name is Ryan Bradley. I am a senior at York County School of Technology. However, seeing as Eastern York School District was my sending school and my sister still goes to this school, I decided to speak tonight. Before I get into anything, earlier the school board has said that religious exemptions are not accepted for Mass. What other exemptions do you not accept? Is there any other?
Would you say what other exemptions don't we accept?
Yes. Is there any? I just wanted to make sure. Is there any? Yeah.
We go through a specific process individually for approving an exemption or denying it.
All right, thank you.
Based on medical condition, respiratory, or mental health concerns.
All right, thank you. Going along the line of the religious exemption, I have a section from the student handbook, which should be in probably every student handbook, although I pulled this one out of the high school handbook. Section named Student Code of Conduct and Discipline, Section 1, Code of Conduct, subsection A, Philosophy. The faculty and administration believe that every student has the right to undisturbed learning without distinction of any kind, such as race, sex, language, religion, political opinion, or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. I ask that you give some more consideration to the religious exemption, not saying that it has to happen, but I'm asking you please give more consideration. As well as this, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Josh Runkle. I currently have a daughter attending the middle school. First and foremost, I want to address anybody who's going to sit here and say that a piece of cloth over somebody's face is just a piece of cloth. You have no idea what that does to a person who suffers from anxiety, claustrophobia, and depression. So let's disengage. Also, I pulled this directly from the school board policy manual regarding bullying and cyberbullying. It says the school board is committed to providing a safe, positive learning environment for district students. The board recognizes that bullying creates an atmosphere of fear and intimidation, detracts from the safe environment necessary for student learning, and may lead to more serious violence. Therefore, the board prohibits bullying by district students. The last sentence, I'm going to read that again. Therefore, the board prohibits bullying by district students. I think we need to amend that to include teachers, administrators, and also district staff. First person who got up here tonight and told you about the events that happened on September 7th when our kids chose to take a stand up for themselves. And this order, this mandate doesn't have teeth. You can't enforce these kids. You can't pull them. You can't force them. You can't segregate them, which is what's happening. And so you need to talk to your principals, talk to your teachers, talk to them, and make sure that they're following this, since we're so concerned about following the policies of this mandate. So I'm going to end with this, okay, that we're going to stay on the spirit of bullying. And right now what's going on is we're all being bullied by the people in Harrisburg. I can sit here and I can look each and every one of you in the eye And I can tell you that we appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate the unanimous vote that occurred this summer that said you were going to leave masks optional. But now we're asking you to stand up for us once again and do what's right for these kids. Give the parents the choice. Give the kids the choice.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ashley Tilley, and I am a homeowner here in Wrightsville. I have a child that attends Wrightsville Elementary, and then 2 other kids that are out of district, so there's different rules over there. So I'm a pretty big advocate for my kids' educational rights. I am disappointed how our district has handled this mask mandate that carries no law. I am the parents in my children's medical rights, and not you and not the government. That is my responsibility as their parent. Pennsylvania has always been about we should live the way we want to live and the power of the people. Department of Health job is only to control statewide problems, which only has the authority to tell the infected what to do. That's what it should do. If our rights are going to be limited, then it has to be good for a good reason, and it has to be for a very specific, limited time, and a very specific reason. The Department of Health has this order that has carried this order for the non-affected people, which is not how this should work for our children. The order has not made this in any rational way. We are rural area and not urban, which we should not have the same conditions to a bigger city like Philadelphia. Our numbers of infections would be much lower as our population is much lower. When our children started school, the mask seemed as if they were born as it looked that way, or at least optional for some people who wanted them. So the acting Secretary of Health, again, who's acting, because she works for Wolf and had convinced her to sign this order. Under the United States of law, if the government is going to restrict our rights, the government has to have a specific period of time. There is no specific period of time to this order. How is that legal? It is not. There is no specific period of time. Pennsylvania law does not allow this. Then a letter was sent by the district saying you needed to have either a 504 plan or an IEP. If we want to have a mass exemption, which we have to set this up so we can label our child disabled. That is crazy, senseless, and cruel. There is a medical exemption, which by the CDC, it does not say it needs to be a written note by a doctor. But to our district, you need a signature from a doctor. That's what I was told by Wrightsville. The reality of the situation is that you as a school board is being lied to. Ask tough questions to your solicitor. And I would even ask another attorney. Most times for me, if I feel off with something, I would ask for another opinion. The order is literally toothless, which means it's lacking genuine force of the effectiveness. The order says if you violate this order, you will be subjected to a citation. What is the penalty of this citation? It's a $300 fine, which our DA in York County has said she will not prosecute a school who don't mask. This would not hold up in Department of Health. The second threat I heard is saying that you can be sued and be, more importantly, twisting the law that the school board members can become individually liable. You can only sue Pennsylvania government for specific reasons, which are sovereign immunity for the school.
Thank you. Your time is up. All right, we have about 15 more minutes.
I'll be brief. Eric Yates, retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. Like many of my brothers here in the congregation, we were willing to go overseas to protect and defend the Constitution that we hold dear. That oath does not go away. It has not gone away, and we still live by that. Many of you know, as you have voted on the resolution this summer, what the right thing to do is. You voted on it unanimously. So you know in your hearts what the right thing to do is. But yet, under the least bit of adversity, you buckled under the pressure. What I want to say is, I didn't risk life and limb to come home, to be governed by tyranny, and to have the tyrant's dictates be carried out by a feckless school board. You know what the right thing to do is. Our founding fathers, 56 of them, pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to do what is right. They didn't send a draft of the Declaration of Independence to King George to ask for his permission and ask for his approval, like you did to Harris, you're going to be doing to Harrisburg. You know the right thing. You know what it is. You need to find the intestinal fortitude and the courage to do what is right. This is our Lexington Green. We are not going away. We are not going to retreat. We're going to be there every step of the way to hold you and the tyrant in Harrisburg accountable. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Stewart. I have 2 children that will one day attend Eastern District, and I have 1 child in Wrightsville Elementary currently. Thank you to the board for allowing us all to speak. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. My son recently tested positive for COVID, contracted at school. Throughout the past year and a half, he's been doing his best to keep his little sister safe at home and has the right to a choice to wear his mask, yes. But he's been bullied and contradicted by his peers when he does so. He is hearing the words of my peers in this room being mirrored in the mouths of their children. I just ask for people to be mindful of the things you say that your children will parrot back out. Every single one of us here wants what's best for our kids, and I respect every single one of you, but please be mindful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Katie Runkle. I want to start off by thanking the board for the decisions that they have made up until this most recent. The first being that the school district was one of the first in the area to open a building 5 days a week at the beginning of the 2020-2021 school year. You also listened to the parents when you made the decision to change the health and safety plan to make masks optional. For that, I thank you and I am grateful. I'm here tonight to request that you listen to the parents and do what is best for these students. I ask that Eastern York allow parents signed exemption forms, much like that of other school districts, such as Red Lion, Central, Southeastern, and Spring Grove, to name a few. These schools all share the same solicitor, stock and leader. The difference between these schools and Eastern York, I believe, is one of 2. The first is that they might have a different attorney with a different opinion from stock and leader. The second is that the school boards are choosing to go against the advice from their solicitor. What I'm asking you tonight is not easy. I understand the weight behind my request. The York County District Attorney's Office said that they will not prosecute anyone for violations to this mandate because of how poorly written and unenforceable it is legally. I can give you facts and statistics regarding how poorly masks work. In fact, I did that at the June school board meeting. Unfortunately, our society, media, and government have fallen to the cancel culture mentality. It doesn't matter how true or how reliable the facts and data are, if they don't fit the narrative, they are being dismissed. It makes no sense to force healthy children to wear masks all day long when they are the lowest risk age group for complications and lowest risk for transmission. I've heard countless individuals say that this mandate or law may not be right, but we're obligated to follow it. To what end? What is your line in the sand? Is it when they force vaccinations in schools? When they ask something more reprehensible? Let's not repeat major events in history and stand up for what is right, regardless of what tyrannical orders come from our governor and the acting Department of Health secretary. I am not here asking for a mask-free school, but instead for the choice of the parent and student to decide what is best. I'd like to leave with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must take it because his conscience tells him it is right.
My name is Casey Crawford, and I am a former bus driver for you. I quit this year partially because my sons and I were in a horrible accident by a drunk driver, and partially because I am not forcing these kids to wear a mask any tin can. Have any of you sat in that school bus? Have any of you told a 5-year-old to cover their mouth while they're sweating profusely after they just came out of schools that aren't air conditioned? August 5th, I sat down in the middle school cafeteria and listened to some of you, including some of Kraft, said a mandate is not a law. You said that to a room full of school bus drivers about the mandate for masking on buses. We were told, you offer a kid a mask, they say no, you let him go. What's the difference now? Why are you following this mandate that is not a law? This came from Dr. Mancuso. Why are we following it now? Also, on an unrelated topic here, I see some of you school board members whip your nose out. Why was a middle schooler written up today? Why was he sent to follow yourself. Don't force our kids. Amen. Set an example. Another topic with this exemption. I have a child that is exempt. Do you understand the hoops I'm going through right now? Thank you, Dr. Mancuso, for your help with my Joey. I appreciate it, but it's ridiculous. All of last year, I got nothing but phone calls from his second grade teacher. I'm sorry, first, he's in second now. Telling me Joey won't leave his mask on. All he's doing is fidgeting. He's not paying attention to me. All he's worried about is his mask. Guess what? First day of second grade, his teacher is glowing about how amazing this child is, how smart he is. The second that mask went on his face, I get the same comments. This is ridiculous. This is not a blanket mandate here. Let's put aside everything else. There are kids that legitimately cannot do this. I have another child who's dealing with allergies. I had to call into the nurse and explain to her. And now I have to get a doctor's note proving this child has had allergies for the past 6 years. It's allergies, man, come on. The child that I know that was written up today for his nose being out, he couldn't breathe. His allergies are so bad, the kid can barely talk. Take the masks off of them. Guys, if you want your kids to wear a mask, put them on. Right. I'm all for you parents doing what you feel is best. Because you know what? That's all we can do. Thank you.
Well, that's something to follow. So, but I have a lot to say, but most people who've already spoke tonight kind of speak from my heart and what I believe and what I think is, the school board statement as well, that they're going to write a letter, that's great. In the meantime, we're kind of suffering through this. But I just wanted to point out, for people who have had their exemptions denied, If you don't already, look into Attorney Eric Winter. Actually, I have a document here for the school board if you're interested in seeing it. It is specifically titled Considerations for School Board Members about the Pennsylvania Department of Health masking order, and goes into some detail and actual law behind what is illegal, what your rights are, and your authority is. And there's also questions in there that maybe you should be speaking to our solicitor about. That maybe they are not seeing this, from the same direction as some of these other schools who have been advised by their solicitors differently. But in regards to the exemption, he also recommends that if your exemption has been denied, that you file a complaint with the Pennsylvania Human Resources Committee. They will do an investigation and, if necessary, bring up charges of discrimination at no cost to families. Okay? And it's an individual basis. You can do it personally. And also for anybody interested in cyber schools, I know one parent made a comment about the cost and stuff. The deadline for enrollment is October 1st. Okay? So I'm sure the next meeting will not be happening until after that. And I know there are legal processes that take time. But we cannot just sit on the sidelines and watch these things happen knowing that it's going to take months. At the end of October, there's supposed to be a vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. If that is mandated, is the school going to force it on them? Are we going to have to vaccinate them in the meantime while we decide that it's not legal to do that, okay? So I stand with the parents. This is our choice. These are our children, okay? We are trusting your judgment with their educations. You all know what the right thing to do is. You already voted on it. Sorry. I trust you to do the right thing.
Did you email us that letter from the attorney already?
I did not. No, I have a printed copy.
Can you if you we have a copy of it? Oh, okay. We do have a copy and Gareth. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, and I don't see anybody else back there, so you're good. You're good, but yeah, I think this is going to be the last one then.
My name is Marcy Gown. I'm a resident of Eastern York School District and a mother of 7. 4 of my children attend schools in the district at this time. I am here regarding the administration's position with the latest mandate from the Acting Secretary of Health. At this time, parent-signed mask exemptions are not accepted by our district. I would respectfully ask that the board reconsider this position. Other schools in our county with the same solicitor are allowing parents to sign simple one-page mask exemption forms. By not allowing parent-signed exemptions, you are abdicating your responsibility of representing the majority of parents in this district. The majority of parents want to be able to choose whether we mask our children. I know my children better than anyone, and it is my responsibility to choose what is best for them. We persevered through last year with masking. The persistent headaches, nosebleeds, fatigue, irritability, and anxiety were part of our children's everyday lives. We did our part. It is time to honor my right to choose what is best for my child. I understand that you are in a difficult and unprecedented situation. I can sympathize with your feelings of fear and frustration at being threatened with loss of sovereign immunity. These tactics are tactics of bullies and of politicians who don't get their way. This issue has turned into a political circus, and our children are the ones who are suffering. It is absurd to think that an attorney, the current acting Secretary of Health is an attorney, not a doctor, knows what is better for my children than I do. I do not co-parent with the state. I respect each of you immensely and appreciate your service to our community. I believe that everyone in this room wants what is best for our children. I respect your freedom of choice to do what is best for you and your family. Will you respect mine? Thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, thank you.